Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc.
CARICOM optimistic of a peaceful solution to the Venezuelan crisis following talks with the United Nations boss. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Monday, January 28th. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Dawn Paris. Good evening. CARICOM leaders ended a meeting with United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Monday, expressing optimism that a peaceful solution will be found to the political turmoil in Venezuela. The regional leaders held discussions with the UN head in New York 4 days after they had emergency talks among themselves. At that meeting, they decided to seek an urgent audience with the UN boss to get the organization's help in resolving the situation in Caracas, where President Nicolas Maduro is facing a challenge to step down. This after opposition leader Juan Guaido declared himself interim leader of the South American country. The CMC's Peter Richards reports.
CARICOM has not issued any formal statement as yet on the meeting with the United Nations Secretary General, but Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, who was part of the delegation, said the regional leaders remained optimistic that the UN will assist in establishing the roadmap towards peace and security for Venezuela. CARICOM Chairman and St. Kitts Nevis Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris led the delegation that also included Barbados' Prime Minister Mia Mottley. While the 15-member CARICOM grouping has remained divided on the Venezuelan issue, the regional leaders last Thursday issued a statement reaffirming the guiding principles of non-interference and non-intervention in the affairs of states. The leaders reiterated the long-standing political crisis in Venezuela can only be resolved peacefully through meaningful dialogue and diplomacy, and have offered their good offices to facilitate dialogue among all parties. According to the statement issued by the Office of the Prime Minister in Trinidad and Tobago following the discussions at the United Nations, Prime Minister Rowley has expressed hope that in the not-too-distant future there will be significant improvement and a diminishing of tensions in Venezuela. He is quoted in the statement as saying that the regional leaders believe in the coming days there will be work towards dialogue so that the internal difficulties in Venezuela can be approached without intervention and interference from those who may have a different approach. Following the discussions with the United Nations Secretary General, the CARICOM delegation held a meeting with the Canadian ambassador to the United Nations, Marc-André Blanchard, and was also expected to meet with officials from Russia, China, and Venezuela. Several countries, including the United States, Canada, and some Latin American states, are backing the Venezuelan opposition leader, while Russia, China, and Cuba are among countries that are supporting President Maduro, who was sworn into office earlier this month for a second consecutive term. Peter Richards, CMC News.
Meantime, a former Jamaican diplomat has charged that CARICOM is compromised in the Venezuela situation. Curtis Ward expressed that view in an interview for RJR's weekly review program, That's a Wrap, as the regional body is divided over support for the Venezuelan president. He served as Jamaica's Deputy Permanent Representative to the United States with special responsibility for Security Council affairs. TVJ's Andrea Chisholm reports.
The Bahamas and Haiti are two CARICOM countries that have joined the United States in backing Juan Guaido as Venezuela's interim president, sidelining Nicolas Maduro, Venezuela's elected president. In a release on Friday, 12 CARICOM countries, excluding the two mentioned earlier, reaffirmed the principle of non-interference. But since some countries like Jamaica also voted not to recognize Maduro at the Permanent Council of the Organization of American States, former Ambassador Curtis Ward foresees a problem.
I think for the most part, CARICOM has been compromised in all of this because of the OAS vote, as you raised in your question. And when I read the CARICOM declaration, I found a little bit of hypocrisy in there from countries in particular that voted not to recognize Maduro. Because I can't see how you can vote not to recognize Maduro and then speak of playing a role in mediating between Maduro and Guaido. So I think that's a problem.
So how can CARICOM fix the issue?
My recommendation to CARICOM would be to appoint a special envoy on Venezuela and let that envoy be the spokesperson for CARICOM to carry forward any position that CARICOM may have or any hope that CARICOM may have as a mediator in this process.
Well, Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister Gaston Brown says the Caribbean should be careful not to be drawn into the ideological war unfolding in Venezuela. Brown, who said his administration will not support Guaido, warned that the unfolding situation in Caracas could cause serious problems for the region.
Further destabilization of Venezuela, you have more refugees. They're going to start to come north. They come into the Caribbean, they come into us, okay? So you have a refugee problem. Now, if there is any form of, let's say, military action, especially if you have the intervention of other states outside of this region, then you can imagine that we would turn a region right now that is a hemisphere of peace and tranquility into a war zone.
Brown also says there are other implications for Caribbean countries, many of which are dependent on tourism and have open economies.
So I am saying here that the implications are very serious for us because we have an open economy. So if there's any instability in this region and all of those containers, all those ships that normally come to the Caribbean, they get diverted or they can't move or they can't come, what do you think is going to happen to us? What if the tourists decide, based on the instability in the region, I do not wish to come here? What is going to happen to our tourism receipts? I'm saying here the consequences for us in the region, they are grave.
In other news, 3 people are dead and more than 170 injured after a rare tornado ripped through Cuba's capital, Havana, on Sunday. According to a government statement, strong winds damaged buildings, uprooted trees, and caused flooding in low-lying areas of the capital. Reports say the first tornado to hit the city in decades came with winds up to 60 miles per hour. President Miguel Diaz-Canel met emergency crews on the streets before dawn on Monday and tweeted that the damage was severe. The Cuban Meteorology Institute said tornadoes were unusual around the capital and a strong one had not hit the city in decades. It said a Sunday night storm was produced when a cold front hit Cuba's northern coast, similar to one that struck in 1993, although that one did not produce a tornado. Coming up in Caribbean Newsline, Barbados' Prime Minister issues a warning to gunmen amid concerns about recent murders. Stay with us.
Today we're here talking about the Jesus Ferreira case, which is the police shooting case.
Yes, it was.
You represented Mr. Ferreira.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the facts of the case.
This was a series of unfortunate incidents, so to speak. Everything was done that you could do wrong in police procedures was done wrong here. The police have a confidential informant, a snitch. The snitch tells them that so-and-so is a drug dealer and is armed and dangerous.
It's interesting. You have a politician from this coalition who says something completely vulgar and stupid and beyond belief, and then the government says, no, it's not a good idea, and people then say, the government is being sensible, when in fact the whole political battleground is now controlled by the right and the far right.
Yeah.
So everything has become relative.
Welcome back. Barbados' Prime Minister Mia Mottley has sent a strong warning to gunmen that her government will not tolerate lawlessness. The island has recorded 8 murders so far this year, but Mottley told reporters that Barbados will not be held hostage by a group of people who want to terrorize the country.
And we are not prepared under any circumstances for people to believe that they can use and walk around with guns like if they are toys, like if they are badges of honor. If people are so consumed and so much in love with guns, then they should ask me to ask the Minister of Foreign Affairs to find a warsome part of the world that we can allow them to go and be part of. But what they must not begin to believe, and if that is what they want to do, then they must understand that we love every Bajan, but you're going to feel the full weight of the law, because what is at stake is our way of life. And Barbados is not going to be held hostage by people who want to terrorize ordinary people walking up and down through the street, ordinary people moving about the community. And why? And the Commissioner and others were absolutely correct. But the Commissioner has given me the assurance, as has the other operational men, that they too feel not both here.
Over in Jamaica, an assurance that Montego Bay will not descend into lawlessness and chaos when the state of emergency there ends on Thursday. The opposition has refused to support the government's request for an extension to the state of emergency, but Montego Bay Mayor Homer Davis says the parish of St. James will be safe. More in this report from TVJ's Nick Dawkins.
A passionate Homer Davis defending the merits of the state of public emergency in St. James.
The state of emergency did work for the people of St. James.
However, it's coming to an end on Thursday. The mayor of Montego Bay believes residents are fearful and anxious.
People are calling me. People are saying to me, is it true? Is it true? I said yes. It will be coming to an end unless the opposition changes their mind.
Now, though, this assurance from the mayor.
After meeting with senior officers of the security forces, they have assured me that the name state of emergency won't be there, but all the other things that constitute the state of emergency will be there, because the citizens of this parish needs protection now more than any other time.
Although the SOE has worked, the mayor says things are far from normal in Montego Bay, as fear prevents everyday activities such as church attendance and playing games. He says if those activities are to take place, the police cannot let up.
If you think you had seen police action, you wait until after the 31st of January and you will see police action. That means the police will be everywhere. And I must tell you, the checkpoints will continue to be enforced.
Parents urged to pay more attention to their children's health and amid concerns over dengue fever. And one country takes steps to tackle childhood obesity. That's coming up in Newsline Health.
an appeal for parents to pay more attention to their children's health as health officials continue to urge caution against dengue fever. There have been 16 suspected dengue deaths so far this year in Jamaica, and the medical health officer for the parish of St. Catherine, Dr. Francia Prosper Chen, says they have noticed unusual symptoms among children since the outbreak.
Abdominal pain is one of those. Your child has a fever, then you only give Panadol. But if you, as the parent, are in doubt that they are not recovering as they should, then we do expect you to take them back to their primary caregiver.
It's flu season and the public is being encouraged to protect themselves against the virus. Flu symptoms include a sudden onset of high fever, a dry cough, headache, muscle and joint pain, sore throat and a runny nose. CEO of the Caribbean Public Health Agency, Dr. James Hospitales, says there are several precautions that can be taken against the virus.
Those include covering your mouth with tissue or using your elbow, preferably with sneezing or coughing. So sneeze into your elbow when you have the flu, sneeze and cough. Safely dispose of used tissues. Washing hands with soap and water after coughing and sneezing, and before and after meal preparation, toilet use. This is really a very important step in preventing transmission. If you're actively sick, then avoid contact with others, stay at home if you can, and cleaning and disinfecting services at home in the family.
Health officials across the region continue to raise concern over the prevalence of childhood obesity. A national dialogue was held in Grenada recently to address the issue, and following the talks, stakeholders agreed to draw up a strategic plan to curb obesity rates among children.
1 in 3 children across the region is obese and overweight, and Grenada's scorecard is not far removed. Over 25% of our children, 26+% of our children in Grenada are in fact regarded as obese and overweight. That spells disaster for various levels. Level 1, for the individual. When you become an adult, you will become prone to chronic diseases and certain cardiovascular diseases, your diabetes, your hypertension and so on. At the level of the community, in terms of the society, at the level of the household, in terms of what you eat, what you consume, the sugar sweetened beverages, the sugar sweetened juices.
Mary Claire Williams, Newsline Health.
In Newsline Sport, West Indies look to the second test against England after a historic win in the first. We'll be back right.
Everybody thinks I'm crazy for wanting to work with you, but that is my mantra. I want to take somebody who's not known, who wouldn't have these opportunities, and put them in an extremely better place. And yes, I'm going to capitalize on that. Of course I am. That is how this world works. I want a lingerie line. I want you to design it. I want you to see that you're much better than that crap you're putting out in your store or your closet or whatever you want to call it.
Continuing with sports, off-spinner Roston Chase's career-best 8-wicket haul propelled a dominant West Indies to their second largest win ever over England at Kensington Oval on Saturday. The Caribbean men crushed the hapless visitors by 381 runs inside 4 days of the opening test to take a 1-0 lead in the 3-match series. Resuming the day on 56, England left-handed opener Rory Burns led the initial resistance with a top score of 84, while all-rounder Ben Stokes chipped in with 34 and Johnny Bairstow got 30. Jos Buttler, who scored 26, and captain Joe Root on 22 got starts, but England never came to grips with Chase, especially after lunch when they lost 4 critical wickets in a damaging slide. Chase bowled brilliantly to take 8 for 60, the second best performance ever by a West Indies bowler against England, and the tourists, chasing an improbable 628 for victory, crumbled meekly for 246, 3/4 of an hour after tea.
The highlights. This was Jos Buttler, brilliantly caught by John Campbell at short mid-wicket. Sam Curran put up some resistance along with Foakes. Then, amazing catch by Shimron Hetmeyer at forward short leg, got rid of Foakes off Chase. Curran continued to be aggressive. Adil Rashid came in, didn't last very long, pulled out to Craig Brathwaite for a good catch at deep mid-wicket. Curran remained aggressive. Himself and Jimmy Anderson. Anderson surviving this appeal. Appeal for leg before was turned down. And then Chase took another blow from Curran before he had him stuck down the leg side by Shea Hope, and that finished off the test match for the West Indies.
Well, after leading his troops to the historic victory, West Indies skipper Jason Holder said he believes that once the regional team remains consistent in its efforts, success will follow. Holder led from the front in the first test with a fighting double century in the second innings, and as we mentioned earlier, Roston Chase starred with the ball in England's second innings, snagging 8 wickets to help the home side to victory.
Credit to the boys. You know, we asked for a really big effort today. We knew how important today was in the context of the game and the context of the series. And it was very, very good to see we could follow up the first 3 days play with a day such as today. Consistency is something that we always speak of in the dressing room. I just want the guys to be consistent. I think we could still strive to be a little bit better in the first innings and pretty much, you know, solidify ourselves when we get starts and try to carry it deep as possible.
Despite his team's resounding victory, Holder said there are areas they need to improve on.
We had quite a few starts in the first innings and a few guys getting half centuries, but no one getting a century. So I think if we could probably try and do what happened in the second innings into the first innings, I think that would be a lot better for us, and that could breed a little bit more consistency and momentum going through the game. Yeah, it should definitely boost us. You know, I don't really want to focus too much on England. I think they've got their stuff to work out on. We've just got to focus on what we need to do in order to close the series out.
Meanwhile, interim head coach Richard Pybus believes the Windies' victory has provided a glimpse of what the future holds for the regional side.
I'm delighted. The guys played extremely well. Prepared well, executed well, so just very happy for the boys. I think when you turn up and deliver a really, you know, you deliver your game plan and you execute it really well and with precision, I think gives you an understanding of possibilities of what you can do down the line. They really turned up, they kept their focus. You know, what we looked to do strategically, they did, and I think that's, you know, all credit to Jason, the way he's led the team and the boys.
Pybus acknowledged Roston Chase's incredible 8-wicket haul, but urged bowlers to be consistent going forward.
Yeah, no, he was wonderful today. I just think the pressure created by the bowling unit was great. You know, you got 4 good quick bowlers. Boston bowled exceptionally well. His control was good fields. You know, built up a huge amount of pressure throughout the day. And just his control and consistency. And that, again, that will give him a huge amount of confidence going forward.
Well, West Indies captain Jason Holder has become the first West Indies all-rounder since the iconic Sir Gary Sobers nearly half a century ago to top the ICC all-rounders rankings. The 27-year-old, who had been third on the chart at the start of the first test against England, stormed to the top position following his monumental unbeaten double hundred in the match. That effort also saw him jump 25 spots in the batting rankings to a career-best 33rd, while remaining 10th in the bowlers' rankings. Fellow Barbadian Sir Gary, considered the finest all-rounder ever, was the last West Indies player to top the all-rounders' rankings in 1974. And that's the sport. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc.
Like really. Follow your heart to St. Kitts and make plans to join us at the 23rd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival. 5 days of world-class entertainment from Wednesday, June 26th to Sunday, June 30th, 2019. See Butcher Banton live as he makes his epic return to St. Kitts. Also, French Montana and Davido. Popcorn and the legendary Smokey Robinson. This is just the first wave of announcements. Many more acts to come. For more information, log on to StKittsMusicFestival.com. The St. Kitts Music Festival, an experience like no other.
You know, there are about 1 million people who will soon not get a paycheck. The president and members of Congress live in such an isolated world. They have no idea how real people live. I mean, just the mental stress, the anguish of not getting paid, not going to work. Your whole life is disrupted because you're not usually at home. You're probably arguing with your spouse.
Again, the major developments of this day: CARICOM optimistic of a peaceful solution to the Venezuelan crisis following talks with the United Nations Secretary General. And in sport, West Indies look to the second test in the 3-match series against England after a historic first win. And that's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, subscribe to canonnews.com. And for more of our programming, log on to caribvision.tv and check out our YouTube channel. We'll be back here again tomorrow. But from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching and have yourselves a good night.